Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bull Take Podcast. I am Austin Wader. That is Austin Hill. Both fans of some 4-2 NFL football teams right now. Looking very good for both teams. Better for his team than mine. But nonetheless, welcome to the NFL episode of the Bull Take Podcast. If you haven't already, tune into the college football episode that came out yesterday. It was a great one. We talked obviously about the big games from last weekend. AP poll, our player and team and player of the week, our bets of the week, and of course the big games that happen. Georgia, Texas, Bama, Tennessee, you name it, we covered it. Go give that episode a watch or a listen, as is it available on YouTube and Spotify. So we're here to talk NFL, and obviously, if you've been living under a rock, some NFL stuff has happened this week we're going to talk about here in a minute. But first, Austin, let's start with what I hope I'll finally get on track and starting the show with this now is our biggest winners and losers from the past week in the NFL. Let's start with your biggest loser. Who you got there as the biggest loser?
Oh, my biggest loser. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. Look, after what looked like a great start to the season, they just have not been able to find their footing. And look, I understand that Derek Carr's hurt, and that's part of the reason they didn't win this game this weekend. But look, just flat out embarrassed by a divisional opponent. And I really think right now for New Orleans, everything that's going wrong since week two has gone wrong. And it really has just been a rough stretch for them.
We're going to talk about their Thursday night game that I did not watch. I was watching Agatha all along while that game was playing. Great
Yeah,
show, by the way. Go give that a watch if you haven't
great,
already.
great show. I'm with you right there.
Yeah. For my biggest loser, I mean, it's hard to not point out the 47-9 beating that the Dallas Cowboys took on Sunday. I mean, not only did the Lions destroy you, but they were doing every single trick play in the book against you. And if it wasn't for the official Mr. No Fun, we could have had a Panay Sewell receiving touchdown. But
Yeah.
Mr. No Fun there, officials had to ruin it. Shout out to Dan Skipper, though. He ran a pretty solid route at the end of that game for the Lions. Former Razorback tackle. You got to love it. But that's our biggest losers. What about your biggest winner, Austin? What you got there?
I biasly am going to pick the Chicago Bears. This was a really great game in London for them. Caleb Williams looked phenomenal, and it was really nice to see Keenan Allen get going, catching his first two receiving touchdowns of his Chicago Bears career. And that all that to get him heading into the bye week, a nice, comfortable week off now before you take on the Commanders the week after. So I really liked finishing on a high point at 4-2 heading into the bye week. And this is maybe the most positive bye week Chicago Bears fans have had in a minute.
That matchup next week, y'all and Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels. Well, I mean, they've already flexed that game from a 1 o'clock kickoff to now a 3:25 kickoff. So they're getting ready for the big matchup of the number one, number two picks. My biggest winner, I'm gonna go with a different kind of strategy for mine. I'm gonna take Drake May for the Patriots. Drake May in his first start, I felt went out there and looked really solid. I think for a first start after sitting for a couple weeks, he was able to throw the deep ball really well. He made some mistakes. It's his first career start. He's going to make mistakes, but I think that the future is bright with Drake May as the quarterback for New England because I thought he looked really solid out there against what is a pretty strong Houston Texans defense. But now let's get into some big news or whatever that might have happened on Tuesday. Obviously, the big news: the Raiders trading Devontae Adams finally after wow, what how long have we been begging for him to get traded? It's been a while.
Uh, since they traded Derek Carr is how long I've been doing it.
Yeah, mine's been since week 3 of the NFL last year, week 4 maybe. It's been a while, but nonetheless, Devontae Adams traded to the New York Jets. He pairs back up with Aaron Rodgers for a conditional third round pick that could turn into a second round pick. But a big thing also from this, Austin, the Jets are taking on all of Devontae Adams' money, which is a big thing for the Raiders. To me, that's a win for the Raiders. Getting a third round pick that could turn into a second rounder. The Jets are taking all Devontae Adams' contract. This really is as close as they could get to a win. And for the Jets, if they want any chance of saving their season, this is kind of the move I think they had to make. Totally not a panic move at all, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's not like Aaron Rodgers came out to the media after their loss and said that their number one receiver or their number two receiver was the biggest reason that he threw that interception at the end of the game, and then they instantly went out the next day and traded for his former best friend in Devontae Adams. Not a former best friend, as in they're not friends anymore, just as in they don't play on the same team anymore. Well, now they do, but they didn't. Um, so I think this is a bit of an over. I think this is a move that certainly helps this team. But I think if you think that Aaron Rodgers and are, like if Aaron Rodgers is none of the blame and it's all the receivers, then I just don't think you know that much about football. I get it. You want to do anything to help make guys better. And maybe Mike Williams did run the wrong route on that play. But regardless, uh, Aaron, if you know he's running the wrong route, maybe don't throw the ball there.
Yeah.
I know that's not exactly how it works. I know sometimes you're going off instinct and hoping a guy's there, but I just feel like if the guy's not running where he's supposed to run, maybe try and sniff that out a little bit, or at least still be like, yeah, I still made an oopsie though because I still threw an interception. But regardless, I think the thing I like about this deal the most is that it's the way the contract was restructured. After this year, the next 2 years are voidable. So if the Jets and Devontae Adams decide they don't like the money for the next 2 years, or they just don't want to continue to do business after this season, they can just scrap those years, and Devontae Adams can hit the free agency, or they can rework the money on those last 2 years. So I think that that's one thing that kind of saves you in this situation. But is a second round pick worth a 1 year rental of a receiver half or almost halfway through the season if it turns out to not work out for both sides after this season. So I guess it's more stuff to find out, but there's a lot more going on with this team than Mike Williams running the wrong route. And I don't know if Devontae Adams is going to solve all their problems magically.
I mean, I think it could help. And honestly, they're looking to trade Mike Williams now with that wide receiver room being so as full as it is now with all those guys. Heard the Chargers could use him. I've even seen a great Photoshop of what he looks like in a Chargers jersey.
Yeah, it'd be great for him to be in a situation where he was hurt and his coach didn't throw him back out there to sustain a season-ending injury immediately after when he could have, taken the rest of the game off. So it would be in a much better situation. It'd basically be like going to a brand new team.
Yeah, gotta love Brandon Staley. Gotta love the guy. Yeah, said no one. Um, but Austin, this is totally random, but I just saw it. We have breaking college football news for you right here. I don't know if you're ready for it. It
No.
involves the Notre Dame matchup against Georgia Tech this weekend. Haynes King has officially been ruled out for this matchup this week. They said that he's been day to day with an upper body injury, is what they said, and it'll be backup Zach Pyron getting his third career start against Notre Dame this weekend. But that's a big loss for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, it's nice to have that option quarterback and the way he does it. So I would imagine that they've recruited another quarterback that can help run those options and stuff that completely kill their offense if they did it. But it's just kind of the instincts that Haynes King has when he's running the ball and his willingness to drop the shoulder and kind of run like a running back for that team that really helps him out so well. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see somebody else running the show and what that means for Georgia Tech.
Just new, man. In case you didn't know, in the college football episode, we talked about this matchup and we both said Haynes King, a running quarterback like Riley Leonard, could be a fun matchup, but obviously not with Haynes King anymore. So I had to bring that one in there. But now let's move to the other NFL trade that happened, which, in my opinion, is a bigger one. Amari Cooper getting traded from the Browns to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills received Amari Cooper in a 2025 sixth round pick, and the Browns got a 2025 third round pick and a seventh round pick in 2026. And this is massive to me for Buffalo. You're getting an elite wide receiver for a deal like that. Really not a super expensive one. Obviously, he's a very talented one and deserves a good amount of money, but also just a different kind of wide receiver compared to Stephon Diggs. This isn't a guy that's going to go crying on the sideline if things aren't going his way or he's not getting the football. It'll be a different atmosphere with Amari Cooper there. And I think this is really, really good for Josh Allen and company.
Yeah, I think those last few years in Cleveland showed exactly how Amari Cooper handles adversity. Silently, he doesn't make a big deal to the public. He doesn't go and whine and complain on the sidelines to teammates and coaches. Whatever was going on with Amari Cooper and the Browns, it was well kept and it was kept in the locker room and out of the public eye, if there were any problems at all. So I think that shows, kind of where he's at. And look, this is huge. I already thought that the way they built this receiving core overall made this receiving core better than it's been the last couple years. And now you add a star receiver who, look, he's not quite the talent level of Stephon Diggs, but he's still an extremely talented wide receiver, gives you a for sure wide receiver number one, who's going to get some attention but still be able to make big plays. And it's just going to help open everybody else up too and make this receiving core even better. I love this move. I think this is a better move than the Devontae Adams move, and you paid less for him. This is really well done by the Buffalo Bills.
I'm right there with you. And now let's move to, I wouldn't say a trade news, but this was a definitely a major blow for one of the top teams in the NFC. Aiden Hutchinson suffered a serious leg injury in the fourth quarter. As far as I know, he needed emergency surgery for a compound fracture on his tibia, I think, is what it officially ended up being. But he is going to be out pretty much for the remainder of the season. I've heard some people say that he could possibly return if they make the Super Bowl. If he does, Aiden Hutchinson is a madman, and I would be impressed if he was able to go out and play in a Super Bowl with this injury. But this is obviously a huge loss for the Lions. This is the heart and soul of their defense that is out now. Not only that, to me, this was their main pass rush. They really hadn't had a pass rush besides Aiden Hutchinson, or if those guys were getting pass rush abilities, it was courtesy of Aiden Hutchinson. This is a big loss for Detroit, and this hurts a lot.
Yeah, I really hated to hear this, and that's coming from somebody who could use, every advantage to try and win this NFC North. But I'm not one to wish on injuries unless it's Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just not one to be that kind of guy. I hate this for Aiden Hutchinson. This is just awful. He's one of the most talented players in the National Football League. He's really come along, and I think maybe he was putting together a pretty good Defensive Player of the Year campaign this year as a huge leader for this Lions defense, like you said, heart and soul. What this means to me, look, obviously the Browns are now open to doing business. Does the Myles Garrett market start to heat up? Obviously, I don't think the Lions would be the only team interested in gaining his services. But now you see the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. You see that they're willing to do business. Do people start making phone calls to Cleveland, especially in Detroit, and saying, hey, what does it take to take Myles Garrett off your hands? Because clearly the situation you're in, you're not going to be winning anytime soon.
No. And I mean, if you be honest with you, the Lions thing is we're winning now. We want to win now. And this is a win now kind of move they did. To me, and I think Myles Garrett's a fair one, I'm going after Max Crosby. They just let go of Devontae Adams. It's clear Max Crosby's literally the only piece of real elite talent there. Not to be mean to him, but without a competent offense and the rest of the defense struggling, what good is he doing to this Vegas Raiders team? What I don't get it for him. I think getting traded to a situation like Detroit would help him out a lot too. Plus, he played college football at Eastern Michigan, so he knows the area pretty well. To me, if I'm Detroit, I am calling every single day in Vegas saying, what is the situation on Max Crosby? What do you want for him? And to me, it's like you said, this is where you got to attack and make the big move to try to build for it because you need some help with the pass rush. Because no disrespect to the Lions secondary, it is not the most elite group in the NFL. And without the pass rushing help, I think that could hurt them down the line. So yeah, I'm with you. Myles Garrett, I think is a little bit tougher to get than a Max Crosby, but either way, they need to go get someone. I think if they are truly going all in a win now mode to try to make a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. I think they need to go in and instantly get a replacement. And I'm glad you said Max Crosby. That just shows how much talent at edge rusher is out there right now that could possibly be moved. Gets you a little bit excited for what might happen at the trade deadline or as we get closer this NFL season.
Yeah. Trade deadline, I believe, is 3 weeks away, or well, a little bit less than 3 weeks away, as that was on a Tuesday whenever all these trades broke. But man, those are two big trades that happened with wide receivers on Tuesday. We wonder, will we see another big trade at this trade deadline? It could get really interesting. It could be like the trade deadline from 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago in the NFL, Austin, which was an insane trade deadline. It was almost like the NBA trade deadline, but even better than that. So I would love if that happened. It would lead to even more chaos around the NFL.
Yeah, I'm excited for kind of what's mounting, especially with some teams making themselves clear sellers.
Yeah. I especially would keep an eye on the Commanders, maybe. I think the Commanders might make a move to try to go all in and win now, especially if they keep on winning. That could be something that I keep an eye on. Our next storyline, though, as you guessed, we're going to talk Pittsburgh Steelers, and that is the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. The Steelers won against the Raiders on Sunday, and Justin Fields got to win 4-2 as a starter. But then there were reports that Russell Wilson is fully healthy now, and he is in consideration to start. Um, as far as I know, they were both taking in-game reps, or first team reps. Wow, I cannot speak today. First team reps in practice this week, and they reportedly, literally a few minutes ago, said they have made a decision, but they are going to keep it in house on who the starting quarterback is. And I just want to point out one thing before I let you say your thoughts on it. Justin Fields yesterday with the media made me like him even more. He came out and flat out didn't try to take blame or didn't try to blame anyone for the situation, just saying, I really don't know if I'd played well enough. It's like I'm not going to come out here and say that I was incredible, but I'm also not going to come here and brag and say I should be the starter. It's a competition. We're going to see how it goes pretty much. He basically said that. And it made me love Justin Fields more with that. Just the humility to not come out and be like, well, I'm 4-2. I should be the starting quarterback. Just come out and say, hey, it's a competition. We knew this is how it's going to go. I don't know who's going to start on Sunday, but that interview Justin Fields did yesterday really, really made me like him even more than I possibly already did, which is hard to say.
Yeah, for me, he's nothing but class, and that's what I've always loved about Justin Fields. He's such a professional. He goes out there and he does his job. He never complains. He never makes excuses. He always takes the blame. There are some 40-something-year-old quarterbacks who could learn a thing or two from a fifth or from a fourth-year quarterback like Justin Fields, as far as being a leader and what being a quarterback and a leader on a team is supposed to look like. So I've always loved Justin Fields for that. And like you said, that made me like him even more, the way he behaved in that press conference. But to me, this is flat out disgusting for a multitude of reasons. I get Russell Wilson's back, but I don't think the wheels have fallen off for the Steelers. I think it would be an overreaction to bench Justin Fields. I get maybe giving them both first team reps, but I think until you just don't believe in Justin Fields anymore, you shouldn't bench this guy. Unfortunately, what I think may be happening is that Justin Fields is one start away from making the conditional pick that they traded to Chicago a fourth round pick as opposed to a fifth round pick. Now, it is a little too close. It is a point that I've thought about a little bit. It's 7 games. Yeah, he has to start 7 games. And sure, if they took him out and he never started again, that pick would still be a fifth round pick. But if Russell Wilson just plays bad, 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 he would just have to come back and start one more game and it not be conditional. Because obviously, people are going to call for Justin Fields again if Russell Wilson does start and if Russell Wilson plays bad. So maybe, you waited too long. So I don't think it's purely motivated by the pick, but I think at least right now that's why they've even opened the doors for a conversation for this. Is to, hey, if we don't have to give them a fourth round pick, we don't want to. But I think at the end of the day, it's a little too close. With only Justin Fields having to make one more start. I mean, that's just an injury or a bad game away for Russell Wilson. to having Justin Fields play one more game. So I don't think it's entirely the pick, but I do think that's part of the thought process here.
I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot about that whole thing there. I did find the Justin Fields quote officially, which was, quote, I don't think I played good enough if I'm being real with you. If I'm being real with myself, if I did play well enough, I don't think there would be any sort of question on who should be playing and who should not. So that's the official quote I had that I found there. But yeah, um, to me, there's pro and con to both if one of them starts. With the pro with Justin Fields is number one, it seems like guys really love playing with him. The Steeler locker room loves him. Number two, the run game with the Steelers is so special with him being in it that I could understand it. But I will say, I understand argument for Russell Wilson because Justin Fields passing the football at points this year has been a question mark at points, but his running ability has kept it being really special. And with Russell Wilson, I think if you start him, then the passing game would be better. But I think the run game would lose some mojo because no disrespect to Russell Wilson, he does not run at all like he used to when he was younger in the NFL. So I think there's a pro and a con to each side of if you start one over the other. So, and if you want my honest opinion, I said at the start of the season, and I'll still say it now. I believe in that we should have started Justin Fields from the start of the season. I know the throwing the ball is a bit worrisome to some, and I've said stuff on there before, but I truly believe that it should be Fields. And my main reason for that is because if this doesn't work out this year with Fields, what are we doing with Wilson next year? We could just be starting over with the quarterback room again. And you can't just completely scrap the QB room year after year and expect things to get better. You got to build something for the future for your franchise with the quarterback room. And no disrespect to Russell Wilson. He's got a Super Bowl. He's been super successful as an NFL quarterback. But I want the young guy that we can build around for the future with the team. That's just my opinion on it. That's my opinion on the situation. We will obviously see who announces the starter on Sunday Night Football, but that's where I lean.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you there. I think they really did themselves a disservice by not picking up that fifth year option. I know that if Justin Fields played bad, he may not have been worth that fifth year option, but I think that's a bridge you can cross when you get there. I think it would have been much better to have at least one quarterback under contract for next season, as opposed to in the situation they're in now, where Justin Fields has played pretty good football, and Russell Wilson could retire after next year. He could not want to be a Steeler next year. And then it comes down to now having to maybe be in a bidding war with somebody to gain Justin Fields' services.
Yeah, we will obviously wait and see with that. Let's talk about some games that happened this past week in the NFL. Let's start with Ravens and Commanders. This was the big game everyone was going to tune into. And really, the Ravens had control of this game throughout most of it. The Commanders kept it close, had some phenomenal plays. But again, Derrick Henry dominant. And Austin, as much as I hate saying it, it seems like this Ravens running game and this offense is getting better every single week and is getting harder for anyone to stop that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, once they really figured out how best to use Lamar and Derrick Henry in tandem, this offense has just become really elite running the football. And look, this went about how we thought it was going to go. Washington keeping it close, playing a good game, but that veteran experience of Henry, of Lamar Jackson, and of this defense really helped push them over the finish line and get the job done.
Yeah, they did. Commanders and are still 4-2, and they, like I said, they still looked really good, kept it close, but the Ravens got to win 4 wins in a row for the Ravens now. So they are looking back to the elite of the NFL. Um, let's point to one that did occur that you kind of already hinted at with the Bears, 35-16 over the Jaguars. Easily the best game of Justin Fields or Justin Fields. Wow. Caleb Williams' career so far. He looked phenomenal against the Jaguars. And for Jacksonville, not only did they get their butt whooped, but they couldn't even go home because they got to play in London this week. It was a dominant win for the Bears. And like you said, a 4-2 record to head into the bye week
Ugh,
after the last couple of weeks. Bless you. I don't know if you just sneezed or not. If you did,
twice. That was awful.
okay. Well, bless you, sir. But nonetheless, this is a good win for the Bears, 4-2, and the offense seems to be getting better every single week.
Yeah. So trying to get my wits about me here. But yes, this was a great game. I was mad that I had to find an alternative way to watch this game because I don't have NFL Network and it's very hard to get access to. I don't have like cable TV, so um, I wasn't able to watch it that way. And then when you get on the NFL app, you have to have NFL Plus to
Yeah.
watch NFL Network on the NFL app, which I think is should be illegal. That was
Yeah.
insane. I had to find an alternative way to watch this game, one that was completely fair uh, for all parties involved.
Right.
But I was not going to miss this game, and I'm glad I didn't. This was a phenomenal performance for Caleb Williams. And really, what I liked about this game was it showed how good this defense is. Look, coming into this game, Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson were out. And as this game went on, Kyler Gordon got hurt, and it doesn't look like any of those injuries are going to be serious, but they missed this game. So in the secondary, we had second and third string guys out there playing football. And look, that resulted in some guys that we don't usually see on the field getting interceptions, forcing fumbles. The long snapper gets hurt. Cole Kmet decided to just go crazy and become the special teams player of the week this week. 5 successful long snaps, the only long snapper in NFL history to catch 2 touchdowns. Really phenomenal performance all around from this team. I was really excited, but with the Jaguars, this just has to be an all-time low. They're just playing some bad football, and Trevor Lawrence made some big mistakes, like I said, against second and third stringers. While I think the Bears have one of the best defenses in the NFL right now, um, some of their big name guys, like I said, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, those big guys in the secondary weren't out there, and he was still throwing interceptions to backups, safeties, and corners. It was just not a good look, I think, for Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars offense as a whole.
Yeah, I mean it's rough for them. Like I said, it's even worse. They had to stay in London another week. They got to play the Patriots there on Sunday. Couple of 1-5 teams going at it. Could be our first tank bowl of the season in that matchup. So we'll see how that one goes. The next game I want to talk about, Green Bay. I know you don't want. I know you really don't know how you feel about them, but they dominated the Arizona Cardinals 34-13 in this game. And this was the first time that we really saw a healthy Jordan Love go out there and truly dominate in this game. And he, listen, I know your thoughts on Green Bay. I know them. Everyone knows them well, but you got to give them credit for a dominating performance like this against the Cardinals team, coming off a really impressive win against the Niners last week.
No, yeah, this was really good for them. Like you said, finally seeing a healthy Jordan Love is good for them. Like we talked about, at the beginning of the season, paid a lot of money to making him the future of this team after only one season. And so they need this to work out. And it was good to see him come back and be a force. But this is how this game should have gone. I know I picked the Cardinals and they played a really good game last week, but this is how this game should have gone. That's just the talent disparity between these two teams. And while the Cardinals are gritty, the Packers are just a much better team, and they came out and showed that now we're back on the right track after everything got derailed in week 1.
I would find other games, but we had already said our piece about many of them. We'd already talked about Detroit and Dallas a bit here. A 47-9 thrashing. I mean, it was, let's just say it like it was, Austin. It was a butt whooping of as big as it could get on Jerry Jones' birthday. I cannot imagine a worse day for the Cowboys than what happened this past Sunday. I mean, it was a rough one.
Yeah, it was rough, and not to mention, we had to discuss once again the stupidest stadium design in the history of football, where there's the sun just shining in a quarterback's eye for the entire time the sun's setting. It just makes who thought that was a good idea.
Jerry Jones, that's who. Jerry Jones was the one who thought it. Yeah, he saw. He's like, yeah. What if my quarterback's dropping back to pass and it's just and it's just like this. They just like turn on their, it's like, I can't see. I'm throwing the ball there. Um, I mean, that's basically what it looked like. And I'm told they have curtains there. So I'm like, why do you not close that?
Yeah,
Just close the dang thing.
for any other event, they close the curtains, but for Cowboys football games, they don't, which I just don't understand.
Yeah, that really does check out for Jerry Jones, who later went on and threatened a radio network person on their show, which I still don't get why he's still answering radio calls at still. I don't get it. I mean, it just as per usual in Dallas, it feels like a massive fiasco, at least to me.
Yeah, it's getting ugly faster than it usually gets ugly.
Yeah, it does. But now, look, the rest of these games were kind of so let's just move on to what happened last night in a disgusting game, I think, to say the least, between the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints. Bo Nix against Spencer Rattler went about as we all thought it would go. Courtesy, obviously, for the Saints, a ton of injuries have occurred. They've lost their fifth straight game. The Broncos getting the win 33-10. And listen, I'm not going to say either team really looked good in this game, but the Broncos looked better and were healthier than the Saints. I really think that's what decided it. And now Denver's 4-3. They got the Panthers next week. Denver could respectively be a 5-3 football team.
Yeah, look, I was forced to watch this game against my will. I was out at Bears Den having a few drinks, watching some baseball, and this game just happened to be on some TVs. So unfortunately, I had to watch the first half of this game against my will. When I got home, I did not turn on the second half of this game. It was just that bad. Look, Denver has had a better season than I expected. I think they've done a lot, and it's really been impressive. The way that I think with Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and even Drake May, they've had some impressive starts to their careers. Not every game's been a win. Not every game's been perfect. But it seems like these four teams have so far taken the correct steps and learned the correct lessons to be able to guide these quarterbacks successfully. Of course, it's only the first year, and there's plenty of time left for things to go wrong and plenty of time for things to go even more right. So we'll only see. But I think so far, I've been impressed with the way these quarterbacks have started their career and the way that these teams have really invested in these guys. And again, learned lessons from some other teams, the Panthers, and how to handle a young quarterback.
Totally no shade thrown there at all. No, no, absolutely none. Absolutely none. But no, let's get to some game picks for this week. There are a lot of entertaining NFL matchups that are going to be happening this Sunday, Austin. And let's start with the 12 o'clock game in Lambeau Field. The 5-1 Houston Texans taking on the 4-2 Green Bay Packers. Two young quarterbacks in the NFL, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, going toe to toe. Two good defenses. This is going to be a great matchup, Austin.
Yeah, this is going to be such a fun matchup. But what I really like in this game is the run games. I think are going to be huge, super important. Look, a lot of attention is going to be on these young quarterbacks, and rightfully so. They've really done a lot of damage. But I think where both of these teams can shine is they've got some good running backs who are looking to make those big paychecks they earn this offseason. But I really like the Texans in this game. I think Joe Mixon came back last week and looked like he hadn't missed a stride. Finally got back to the way he was looking at the beginning of the season. And now I think they're going to ride him and use him to kind of lead this team to victory. I think this is going to be a close game, but I like the Texans. I think both of these teams are very good in every aspect of football, but I think the Texans are just a little bit better in just about every aspect as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a really close one. And these two teams, like you said, the run game's really good. Both defenses are good. Quarterbacks have shown a lot of promise from everything we've seen. And listen, it's such an evenly matched game that I feel like there's got to be something I got to take. And I think I'm going to take the home team in this one. I'm going to take Green Bay to win this game. I just think they're so evenly matched. The difference actually might just be playing at Lambeau Field. So I'm going to take the Packers to win. The next one, also at 12. I don't know how this is. These are both at 12 o'clock. The 4-1 Detroit Lions and the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. Austin, this is a huge one in the NFC North. The Vikings have looked virtually unstoppable through their first 5 games. The Lions dominating last week, but the questions about Aiden Hutchinson. What are you thinking about this one?
Oh, this is going to be just another great game. My big thing is going to be obviously watching how this defense adjusts without Aiden Hutchinson. But I think that's what's going to give the Vikings overall the advantage in this game. I think this defense is still going to be trying to find its footing without that monster presence on the defensive line. I think Sam Darnold's going to have a little more time than he's expecting. He's going to be able to make some bigger plays. I think that whether this Lions team decides they need to go out and get a big name pass rusher or not, they'll be able to make the adjustments eventually, and this defensive line will get back on track. Again, with or without a big name. But I think this first week after missing Aiden Hutchinson, you're really going to see how much this defensive line misses him. You're going to see kind of teams be able to scheme a little bit better against this defensive line. And I think that that's what's going to help the Vikings get a big win here against the Detroit Lions.
Okay. See, there's a part of me that thinks that as well. I don't know what the pass rush is going to look like. But at the same time, there's one thing I know about the Lions, and that is Dan Campbell knows how to get a team ready for a big game. Uh, in case y'all do not know, Dan Campbell is literally the best coach in the NFL, not named Mike Tomlin to me. That is a lie. Whom I can I like Dan Campbell better than Mike Tomlin. I'm lying to myself right now. But nonetheless, I think Dan Campbell's a great coach. I think he will have these guys fired up to play. I think you will see a more aggressive defensive game plan by the Lions, being a lot more aggressive with blitzes, maybe. And I think that helps them get the win against the Vikings to give them their first loss. But then the main afternoon game, 325 on Fox. We got ourselves a Super Bowl rematch, Austin. 5-0 Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 3-3 San Francisco 49ers. But we all know San Francisco maybe 3-3. We know good and dang well that this is better than a 3-3 team. But nonetheless, a Super Bowl rematch in the afternoon on Fox. It's going to be a good one. Which way you leaning with this one?
I'm going to lean with San Francisco on this one. Look, they're finally healthy. They finally got a lot of those pieces back. We saw how well Purdy has played with this offense now, but he's got almost everybody back. I mean, they're still missing Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason and just about every running back on this team has filled in so well. That's the craziest thing about the Kyle Shanahan offense is when you think that their top back is gone, they've always got somebody lurking, some undrafted nobody you've never heard of lurking on the bench who can just play ball and run like a dog. It's unbelievable. So the scouting with these undrafted running backs is truly unreal. So I think this offense looks a lot better. This team looks a lot better. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to make some of those mistakes he's been making all season long. And I think for the first time this season, they play a team that's good enough to make them pay. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers in this one.
Yeah. I really was going to pick the Niners in this game. I really was until I saw that the Chiefs are the underdog in this game. And if there's one thing I know about Patrick Mahomes and company, which we learned all last postseason, when they are an underdog, you go with the Chiefs. And I'm not going to overthink it there. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win. Had the Chiefs been the favorite, I probably would have picked the Niners in this game. But the Chiefs are an underdog in this game. I'm not picking against that. I'm not picking against that. I may be an idiot, but I'm not stupid, as I say. But that's gonna be our final for the Sunday afternoon. Now let's get to Sunday night football. This is an interesting one. Jets taking on the Steelers. Now you're saying, Austin, this game's gonna suck. You're just saying this because it's a Steeler fan. Partly yes, partly no, because Devontae Adams is expected to play in this game for the Jets against the Steelers secondary that I would not say is the greatest in the world. But nonetheless, this will be in Pittsburgh on Sunday night. The Steelers wearing some throwback jerseys I've seen with the gray face mask. Absolutely beautiful. But this will be on Sunday night. It may be an ugly one, Austin, but which way are you going with this one?
Well, I think it's funny that hamstring is magically feeling better seconds after that trade is announced for Devontae Adams. But look, I think the Jets are still going to be trying to figure things out. Look, I think the defense looked worse last week than it has all season, and I think that has to do with not having Robert Saleh there to coach that defense. I think that again, that firing was a huge mistake. I think it's going to hurt this team in the long run. So I think the defense looks worse. I think no matter who the Steelers start, they're going to have some success on offense. And ultimately, I don't think that Devontae Adams is going to come in and just magically make this offense better right away. I think they're still going to have to figure some things out. And so I'm going to take the Steelers in this game.
I'm biased, so I'm going to pick the Steelers, obviously. I am worried if Devontae Adams and Aaron are able to get going early. That's my only concern. 'Cause like I said, this isn't the most elite secondary in the world. Minka is kind of coming off injury over the last 2 weeks, so I really don't know how to feel about it. If we can get some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, I feel good because he ain't a scrambler like he used to be. So that made me feel good if we can get pressure on him. Um, and I just want to see some success in the passing game, regardless of who's the quarterback. I want to see success in the passing game for the Steelers. And then our last one, we're only picking one of the doubleheaders on Monday night because one of them you got to have ESPN Plus to watch, which I don't understand why they would do that to someone. I'm not even going to acknowledge who that game is. The main one on ABC at 7:15, the 4-2 Baltimore Ravens, the 4-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These are two teams, Austin, over the last couple of weeks that have looked really great offensively, and now they're going toe to toe in Tampa Bay to finish this week off. What are you thinking about this one?
Man, this is a really, really fun game. Whoever made this schedule and put this game on the schedule was absolutely cooking. This is such a devious matchup, which I love. Tampa Bay versus Baltimore, just a blast. Really kind of two conflicting offensive schemes here. One so run heavy, one kind of almost NFL air raid with the way Baker plays. So I really like this matchup. I think it comes down to who's going to be able to control this game a little bit better. I think that the Ravens are going to be able to control the clock, not just with their offense and their heavy run game, but their solid defense. I think this will be a close game and a fun game. And I really want to see the Buccaneers win this. But I think with the way they're going to be able to control the clock, the pace, and the tempo of this game, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens.
I would take Tampa Bay, but I just don't see how they stop this Ravens run game. I just don't see it. I am expecting a lot of points. I would recommend probably taking the over. And that's not my bet of the week, but I would just say that these offenses have been on point. But I just think that Ravens run game is just going to wear down this Tampa Bay defense. And I think that's the difference in the game. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win. But now it is time for the NFL bet of the week. Austin, I'm not going to lie to you once again. I completely forgot what your bet of the week was.
You got to stop asking me this. I'm so bad at remembering my bet of the week from week to week. So yeah, I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. I know mine was terrible because I had Buccaneers Saints under, and that I know for a fact went over in the second quarter. I know for a fact
Yeah.
the over hit in the second quarter of that game. So that was a bad one. I'm looking for a bounce back spot. Obviously, I will say we're getting to the point where I might start revealing some stuff. What I'm probably going to do is after next week, I'm going to get our betting picks together for college and NFL and add those up, and I'll reveal those. Game picks, I'm going to wait till a little bit later on for those. So, but nonetheless, Austin, bet of the week for the NFL. What do you got for week 6 or week
First,
7? Sorry, my
I,
bad. Week
I
7.
just took a look and I do remember mine now. It was Commanders. I don't know what it was when I said it, but it finished at Commanders +7. And so that was a push, unfortunately, because that was a 7 point game. I guess that's better than a loss. But it was a push there for Commanders +7. But this week I've got one because this is a game that I'm not going to get up early and watch this week. But I've got Patriots Jags under 41.5. I just do not think this is going to be a very good or fun game to watch. I think that Drake may probably have an opportunity to show some flashes against a Jaguars defense that just hasn't looked as good as it should be. And that's mainly because they have not invested nearly enough into that secondary. So he might show some flashes, but I just overall think this is going to be a bad, low scoring game. Give me the under at 41 and a half.
If I remember correctly, you last year had like the all the London games were like terrible, and every single one your bet of the week was this game's gonna suck. It's in, no one's gonna watch it. I'm gonna bet the under, and I think it hit every single week, which was it was perfect. That's the right analogy for that game. I give you
I,
credit.
I think this is look, I think it's already hard enough making that trip over across the sea. I think maybe, the Jaguars have an advantage. They've been there all week. But for the Patriots, that making that trip over, it's hard to, be as explosive, I think, coming into these games already. And these are just two not very good teams so far this season. I'm not going to get up and watch this game.
I'm not either.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. I will honestly probably take that with you and then not watch the game either. I'll wake up and be like, oh, okay. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some breakfast and find something else to do until the other games start. For mine, look, you're obviously gonna take Steeler under, similar to what we always say. You take the Steeler under. It didn't hit last week, unfortunately. The Steeler offense somehow scored 30 points in a game. I don't know how that happened. That's the first time they've scored 30 points in a game, I believe, since 2020. So it's been a while since
Wow.
they've had a huge game offensively like that. But you take the under there, but that's not my bet of the week. My bet of the week is very simply you're not betting against Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. I'm going to take the Chiefs plus 1.5. He's an underdog. I'm betting on the Chiefs in that one. It's just end of discussion. Mahomes and them are really good as an underdog. I'll take the Chiefs plus 1.5 against the Niners.
Wow. Big pick.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm being bold with that one, aren't I? Yeah.
Bold. Take
That's
the
going to
under.
be it for this episode of the Bull Take Podcast. If you haven't already, go watch our NFL or college football episode from yesterday. Get you ready for all the action. And maybe by the time you're watching it, you could listen and say either, wow, those guys were really smart, knew what they were talking about, or wow, those guys are idiots. What were they thinking whenever they said them? Either
Yeah.
way, it'll be an entertaining watch for you. So go give it a watch. Obviously, we will have episodes next week. Maybe, I'm just saying, NBA season, if I'm correct, starts next Tuesday, Austin. Maybe we have some NBA talk, maybe.
Yeah, potentially.
Yep. So yeah, we will discuss that, but you'll get college football and NFL no doubt next week. But that's going to do it for the Bull Take podcast. That is Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We want to thank you for watching.